Hey there, my name is Hydrogen Heather, and here we are on day 2 of remote learning. So right now we are all in the same boat. We're all juggling our careers and everything that we have going on in our lives with the reality that now our children are out of school, at home, and we are all keeping in touch with our classroom teachers so that we can instruct our children at home. And that's just a new situation that we are all learning our way through. So what we're going to try to do is just come up for the next couple of weeks with some very fun, very simple science experiments that you can do right in your kitchen. Just a break from the reading and the computer work and everything else that we are all swamped in right now. And I will tell you, after only day 2, I'm seeing some mighty funny things come across my personal Facebook feed. Is a teacher girlfriend of mine yesterday said that she had one student complaining about the lunch lady's lack of meal preparation, and then she had to dress code a second for showing up at the table with no shirt on. So if you have anything funny that your newfound students are doing at home, definitely write it in the comments below. We are going to answer the question, why in the world do lesson plan posted and it lists everything you need, but basically just grab a few things from the kitchen. You're going to need something with citric acid in it, so you can use something like lemon juice or even a bottle of Sprite. If you have some cider vinegar or even some lime juice, just get a couple of liquids of lemon juice. You're going to need a couple of cups of water, some apples, and then something to cut them with, and then you're going to need at least 4 cups. 2 of them with water, and then depending on how many liquids that you want to use for the citric acid portion, that's how many cups you'll need. So we've got 2 and we have 2 cups, and then the same goes with plates. I'd like to begin by asking the children, listen, we all love a nice, fresh cut, crisp apple. When we first cut that thing, it looks juicy and tasty and firm, but then I'll ask them, if I leave this apple sitting out for 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, what is that apple going to look like when I come back to it? And let me just ask you, Neve, if I leave it sitting out all day. It is going to be brown, and then once it turns brown and mushy, nobody wants to eat that thing. Well, it turns out that the reason for that is a process called oxidation, which really just has to do with with oxygen releasing electrons. And in the lesson plan, it goes a little bit more in depth, but for here, I just want to go into the how-to. So what we want to do is we want to see if we can prevent this oxidation. So I'm going to take an apple, I'm going to cut it into several slices. And we all know that the brown actually begins to happen quite rapidly. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 different types of liquids with different amounts of citric in. This is just your stock and standard lemon juice. I'll pour that into the blue cup. And then I'm going to use my second liquid, which is just Sprite. And Sprite also has citric acid. If you want to, you can ask your kiddos, which one do you think has more citric acid, or which one do you think has citric acid? And, I never tell any answers to those questions, but I just pose them for now. And then maybe when we do the experiment, their answers will stay the same or they will change. But let's do the experiment before we answer any of the questions. So Nevaeh, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to take this paintbrush and with the lemon juice and just do it kind of for perfection. Just get a lot of lemon juice on there and do it on both sides where it's exposed. Really get some good sloppy juice on there. All right, great. And now with the other apple, and then what we want to do is after she paints both apples, we can set the control apples next to them on the plate. And then what we can do is start some kind of a clock to see what happens over 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. We can check these things again at dinner time to see just how much of a difference there is or is not between the control and between the one that we've painted with the citric acid. Now, the second thing that we're going to do is very similar, but this time we're going to remove the paintbrushes. And Nevaeh, for this part of the experiment, I would actually like you to simply dunk this right into the acid and leave it there. So you can put that one in the Sprite. and then you can put this one into the lemon juice. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna let those sit for about 1 minute. And then after 1 minute, we're going to take them out and we're gonna dunk them in the water so they've been rinsed and soaking in citric acid. We're gonna take them out, we're gonna let them sit in water for a few seconds, and then we're gonna take them out, and that will be the third apple slice on each plate that we're going to study. So there will be a lesson plan. I'm going to add it shortly after we cut this video, and you can go as far in depth or as far out of depth, or just keep it as simple as you depending on how old your children are. And then the one word that I want you to have your children look up is the word reduction, which is going to answer the question, how in the world does the citric acid slow the browning process? And one more quick note before we take these apples and transfer them to the water, we want some real world relevance. So ask them if you've ever baked a pie with your children, or if they've ever been over to grandma's house to bake a pie. If you cut the apples 15 or 20 minutes before they're ready to actually go into the pie, a lot of times you go to put them in the pie and they're already brown and mushy. So any good grandma is going to know that if you squirt a bit of lemon juice and cold water onto the apples, then you can cut your apples, do the rest of the prep work, and then when you come back to dump the apples in, they still look as fresh as when you began because you have done the process of reduction. So Nevaeh, to close this out, I'm going to ask you to take these apples and I want you to rinse them off in the water really quick. All right. Very nice work. Now shake that one around a little bit and then put it on the blue plate. And then shake this one a little bit and put it onto the orange plate. So we have one apple where we did absolutely nothing. We have one apple that we painted, and then we had one apple that we soaked and then washed. And let's just let some time elapse and we will see how this pans out. If you have any questions or comments or anything else that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you on day 3 of remote learning.